Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And search your feelings, Reddit. You know it to be true. Star Wars is dead. It's declining. Kids don't care.
Are we allowed to say that now? I mean,
Yeah.
How much crap did we take? Emma said something else. Crap did we take? Because we've been telling people this for quite a while now.
Yeah, so it's pretty obvious now they can't really cover for Star Wars, for Disney Star Wars especially anymore. The brand is in massive decline. Judging by all the piles and piles and piles of Star Wars action figures that have been sitting on shelves rotting for years. I mean, Star Wars toys have never been this low. I remember when they cleared them out in the 80s and they were doing like 2-packs, like 10 or 2-packs and stuff like that. And they went pretty quick. Right. And that was after, the Return of the Jedi. We had a couple of years after that. And then we had like Ewoks and droids and stuff like that. But this stuff did not sit on the shelf for years. We're talking some Star Wars toys are sitting on the, shitting on
I think
the
shitting's
shelves.
about right.
Sitting on the shelves for a decade at this point. Some of these Rey figures. And look, kids aren't into it. They've been trying to get kids into Star Wars. We've seen so many Star Wars kids toys go on clearance. That whole Young Jedi, whatever adventure thing that they were doing, nobody watched it, nobody cared. Those went like directly to Ollie's, and they tried bringing the 3 3/4 inch figures back, which we actually thought it was a good idea, but they only released like one wave of them because nobody bought them, and they're still sitting at Walmart collecting dust. And, nobody cares.
Pretty much. And if they're not there, they're at Ollie's. And you know what? There's toys at Ollie's that have been there for years, like Rey, like you mentioned, and they're still collected. I mean, we're talking like, gosh, how many years has been since we've been going Ollie's all the time? Like 5
or 6 years, and they haven't moved.
And they've been sitting there. They have not. They haven't.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about this because this is speaks to the state of Star Wars when you've got Reddit and you've got subreddits that have been historically, very positive about Disney Star Wars, even being like, yeah, kids don't care. Nobody cares. Star Wars is in a bad place right now. I think it's just the reality setting in. They tried to deny it. They tried to blame YouTubers. But it's like, look, the numbers don't lie, right?
No. And here's what got me too about this conversation, because I'm the one that found it and sent it to you, was a lot of people were chiming in, basically like Disney ruined it. And that's basically what they're saying. Apparently it's safe now to say this, because we already took all the bullets for you, but it's safe to say it now because they're all like, well, it sucks.
Yeah, so it does. We're going to look at some of these posts on Reddit. Again, if you posted anything negative about Disney Star Wars, even a couple of years ago, you were an alt-right bigot, Nazi, hater, misogynist, homophobe.
We were like, I don't remember which ones it was, but I thought they were one of them, maybe not. But like there's places that you weren't allowed to even invoke our name.
Yeah, I think one of the apparently there are 2 saltier than crates, and it depends on the spelling. I know the one with the rainbow avatar is constantly, there's a couple of people on there that are constantly trying to stir shit up about us. Anytime we say anything negative about Star Wars, I don't give a shit.
Buckle up, baby. Here you go.
Here you go.
Mwah.
So let's talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. You'll get a woohoo if you do.
Woohoo.
If you want more podcasts, more paywalled content, and just general nerd news, go out to news.clownfishtv.com. That's news.clownfishtv.com. $5 a month, you get paywalled content. You help support the channel because God knows YouTube doesn't support YouTubers like they used to. But if you go out to Inverse, which is there's your Ewok, which is definitely what I'd consider to be kind of a shill site. But they're trying to say, hey, Star Wars is great because people are playing Battlefront 2 and Darth Vader's in Fortnite, and it's like, no, that's not the same.
That's not the same thing.
If you weren't there, and like, look, I'm a little bit younger than some of the Star Wars fans, but I do remember Star Wars being incredibly popular when I was little. Star Wars was everywhere. It was like the Minecraft of the late 70s, early 80s. And, it clearly is not even in the ballpark of that now. Squid Game, I think, is more popular than Star Wars.
I think there's a lot of things that are more popular in Star Wars. And the list of things that are more popular in Star Wars is bigger than things that are less popular in Star Wars.
So let's take a look at some of these posts. Again, these would have gotten you canceled a couple of years ago. This is coming from the box office subreddit. I feel like the Star Wars IP is officially in hospice.
It's been for a while. When was this posted? Like a year ago?
This was the end of last year. Yeah. So they talked about Deadpool and Wolverine doing well. It surpassed $1 billion. Pixar released Inside Out 2. It was a success. Moana 2, Zootopia 2, Frozen 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9.
I know, right?
They said Avatar is even doing it. Avatar is doing better than Star Wars, and like nobody gives a shit about Avatar. Like you don't hear people talking about it.
It was more popular. Yeah, you don't really hear a lot, and I'll stand by that. But it's still popular, but it's way more popular, I think, overseas than it is in the United States. But yeah.
More people are talking about Alien Romulus, I think, than talking about Star Wars. And they said Lucasfilm is the only Disney studio that hasn't had a major success in years. And I don't think, I'm going to be honest, I do not think The Mandalorian and Grogu is going to bring him to the theaters.
No, but you know what? Here's the thing. They haven't had a major success in years. And who's still in charge over there?
There's definitely something up.
I would love a job where you can just, literally fuck up this bad repeatedly and you get to keep your job. I'd love it. I would love that job.
This person says, longtime Star Wars fans I'm close with are checking out the franchise. I think interest is at an all-time low. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Where do you see the future of Star Wars? Do you think it can wield strong box office results?
Oh, but don't worry, guys. Their rumor is we're supposed to get an Obi-Wan Kenobi season 2. I'm like, is Leia going to have to pretend like she doesn't know him in this one? Or are you actually going to make it about Obi-Wan and Luke?
Yeah, I know, right. I think what's holding it back is that we've had 5 years of Star Wars content that don't go past the sequel trilogy. No, it's what's holding it back is it sucks.
Yeah,
it sucks. It sucks. And they're all fighting over this now.
What, you big it if you think it sucks? It sucks.
If they made a new epic standalone trilogy, the audience would come back big time. I don't think so. I think Star Wars is what your dad watched, and we're going to talk about that because a lot of kids now are checking out from Star Wars. They don't care, right? And
I think too, people, if they're like, oh, it has to be beyond the Skywalker saga. It's not gonna, because Star Wars is always about Luke Skywalker and them. You know what I mean? The family. Yeah. It always was. And you can do some things that are, adjacent to that, but the main branch of it, the main bit of it isn't going to be like side quests that don't include these people. You sometimes you just can't take characters out of it.
That's just it. And Star Wars was very much George Lucas's story, right? Like, I don't think Star Wars, I can't really say. In the right hand, Star Wars could continue, but it was a very personal story for him originally. It was about him and his dad, and some of the issues he was working through. And then so much of Star Wars is his own personal worldview. It's very hard to detach it from George Lucas and have success with it. I don't think anybody could really do it. But this person said, yeah, it wouldn't matter if the content that's come out in the last 5 years was good. Aside from Mandalorian and Andor, everything Lucasfilm has done since Rise of Skywalker has been middling slop at best.
I would argue they haven't had anything that's done well. Actually, it's been good at all since, I don't know when, because I even thought The Force Awakens was kind of like, we already saw this,
Yeah.
But definitely not since Rise of Skywalker. No, you didn't. Rise of Skywalker didn't even really bring it, and Last Jedi just completely screwed everything up.
Yeah. That definitely. I think people were cautiously optimistic because when the Force Awakens came out, Marvel was riding high. And they were like, okay, well, maybe Disney can fix Star Wars. Maybe they can bring people back. And everybody thought that they were going to get Han, Luke, and Leia back together for one scene. That didn't happen.
No, I think
we didn't get that.
That was colossally stupid. You can probably track back most of everything about why people were like, what the hell to that.
One chance. You had one opportunity to get all of them back together for one scene. Just one scene. That's all it was. One scene on the Falcon. That would have been nice.
And then they ruined Luke.
Then they ruined Luke.
Our daughter just recently, I don't know why she didn't watch them before now, but she just didn't want to. She can't sit through things too long, so she has to watch it in chunks. But she watched all of it. Didn't she watch the sequels or the prequels and the she didn't watch sequels. She watched the prequels and the original trilogy. She already saw the first two sequel movies in the theater. She was even like, they completely ruined Luke Skywalker. I'm like, yes, thank you. And she was the one that the target audience here, the modern audience you're going for. And she's like, what did you do?
Yeah, the guy says that this isn't anything to say about Lucasfilm outside Star Wars, which have only produced huge objective failures. This other guy says Boba Fett killed any hype that Mando stirred up, and I haven't watched the last 4 series at this point. That was what did for me too, is Boba Fett. I'm like, this is ass. Like, I thought Boba Fett was kind of cool in Mandalorian when they first reintroduced him. I'm like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. He's using the jetpack. He's got the Slave One. Oh, I'm sorry, the fire spray, or whatever the fuck they're calling his ship now. Boba Fett ship trademark.
Boba Fett ship identifies the Slave One. Anyway, so.
Oh my God. Yeah, this person said, yeah, Mando's mid. It's all mid.
Well, Boba Fett though, you're right though, because that's when a lot of people, they saw that, they thought it was going to be good. And then what we got was that show that was not great. And even the actor, Tamora Morrison, was like, this isn't Boba Fett. He wouldn't be talking this much. These scenes should not be his. They should be other people's scenes. These are not like his character. And they're just like, shut up and do your part, basically.
Actually, I think the way to handle a Boba Fett series is just my personal take, given that he was a mysterious character and he would just kind of show up and whatever, is I would do standalone episodes about maybe his target, his bounty, and just be like, and then Boba Fett just kind of shows up and deals with them. But he doesn't talk a lot. He just kind of shows up and deals, because I don't want to know too much about Boba Fett. I just want to show up and...
Now you know more than you wanted to know.
Yeah,
and
way too much.
Even the actor was like, "This is dumb.
Yeah,
you shouldn't do this," and they were right. And then Obi-Wan completely screwed everything up because somehow it became the little Leia show.
I love this guy. They made Obi-Wan a guy hiding in the desert, travel the universe. They made Boba Fett a universe-traveling bounty hunter, hide in the desert.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, good point.
Yeah. This is it. So that's from even last year. Now we have, just a couple months ago, this is on the Star Wars subreddit. Does this new generation even care about Star Wars anymore?
Short answer, no.
No, they don't. Growing up showing Star Wars to our children was a dream for my friend group. We have tried multiple times to show the children in our lives Star Wars. We have waited until what we thought was the right time, around 10, and none of them seemed to care.
Our daughter just now watched it.
And I don't even know if she cares. She's been going through.
She does care. Yeah, she watched it because she wanted to see it now, because she herself chose to see it.
She likes Hayden Christensen the best.
Well, I can't blame her on that.
I heard he's a nice guy.
I hear he's a nice guy too.
Yeah. I don't know if he's as nice as Henry Cavill, but he's pretty nice.
But none of them are as nice as you.
Yeah, thank you.
I almost brought you a shirt today that said I identify as an asshole, but I didn't buy it. I thought about it.
I do. I'd
ironically wear that. But anyway, continue.
I'm a cuddly asshole.
No, it better not be that much. Anyway, back to this.
We have tried showing them the original trilogy, the prequels, and the sequels, and to them, it seems mostly like a chore to appease their parents instead of the genuine thrill we experienced when these films came out. They seem more interested in Fortnite, Minecraft, and for some reason, YouTube Shorts. Has anyone else run into this? Yes, everybody. Everybody has run into this.
This is everything we've been saying for a while now, and now they're just starting to catch on. The main group's starting to catch on, and it's like, but you're allowed to say it now, or it could be a case they tried to say it before, but they weren't allowed to say it. Now it's okay to say it because now they agree in general that it's ruined. Why it's ruined, they have different reasons, but they agree that Star Wars is on decline because you can't argue it. The numbers say otherwise.
This person says popularity of things will wax and wane. At some point, some parent would have been asking why his kids love Star Wars but didn't care about watching the old Buck Rogers serials. Yes, that's true. And I don't think, I'm going to be honest, I don't think the solution is reinventing Star Wars for a modern audience, which is what they're trying to do. In fact, you're just pissing off the old heads. I think the solution probably would have been to treat Star Wars as a cultural icon and not fuck with it, and maybe just kind of say, hey, we're going to be the caretakers of the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy.
You should have treated it as a cultural icon, not mistake it for a piggy bank. And that they wanted it, and then they ran it to the ground. And Disney keeps doing that because they just don't fundamentally understand the things they buy. But kids don't like it. They haven't liked it. There's nothing wrong with that. We've talked before, like even with Elio, space isn't their thing. No. It's not. Now, that doesn't mean like the next generation won't adore it. We don't know. But right now it's not their thing, and and that's fine. They just stop trying to make it happen because it's not going to.
I think they know on some level, because I'm thinking even back to Civil War when they had Spider-Man making the comment about The Empire Strikes Back being this old movie. And
Yeah.
I think as kids are looking, I mean, you got to realize, like, you know, a kid that's like 15, 16 years old is going to look at Star Wars being absolutely ancient. I mean, go back to when we were kids in the 80s, movies from the 50s and 60s were absolutely ancient. And we didn't want to watch most of them unless it was like really cool.
It stayed for as long as it did because of the audience that loved it. And instead of like doing what they need to do for the audience that loved it, they decided they're going to make the Force female, which they could have still done in other ways. And that they're going to change everything about it, get rid of the old characters, except for Leia, because somehow we have to make her better, and all this other stuff. And then, you know, tell people if they don't like it, that they're man babies, they're incels, they're internalized misogynists, they're, you know, the list goes on and on, all the names they called them. Even Ryan Johnson was in there making digs at people instead of admitting that maybe you just fundamentally effed up.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it just doesn't, I don't think it resonates with them at all. They're talking about how Star Wars paved the way for other franchises and kids are into it, but it's not like the only thing they're into. Which is why, I mean, it was kind of cringy that they put Vader in Fortnite, but honestly, that's probably your best shot at keeping him relevant.
And letting him say, using the voice to let him say whatever, that was probably smart too. But people are, you know, but adults play, like grown-ups like our age play Fortnite, you know, so it was like a little nod, you know, in there that some kids might like, some adults might like, but most kids aren't going to want, they're not going to care.
I love this. This is great. Redhead Sicilian 52. At the end of the day, the sequel trilogy was more interested in satiating Gen X elder millennial nostalgia than actually cultivating a story and aesthetic that would appeal to today's kids. Say what you will about the prequels, but Lucas did strive to set them apart from the original trilogy in that sense. This person says, I wish they accomplished that goal. It did not satiate me one bit.
No, that's what I'm going to say. That's not that. It wasn't, the goal wasn't to make something that people that grew up with it would love. If that was the case, they would have put them together. If that was the case, they wouldn't have ruined Luke and they wouldn't have killed off Han Solo and not given people what they wanted. They didn't give them the payoff they promised in the trailers. If they were doing it for that reason, then they didn't either weren't doing it for that reason, which I don't think they were. I think they were trying to make it for a new modern audience. But if they were doing it for that reason, they just screwed up on every level.
Yeah. People said they're blaming TikTok now. I'm just going through the comments here. It's just
blame Disney where the blame solely belongs.
Yeah, just blame Disney. But, you know, they also in them trying to Disney-fy it, they made it uncool.
Yeah.
Same with Marvel. I mean, Marvel was cooler, I think. I mean, yeah, it's Disney's own Marvel for a long time, but like, I don't think Marvel's been cool for a long time. I think Disney ruined it.
Could you ever picture a world like where you just don't like Star Wars anymore? You have you're apathetic towards Star Wars, that they somehow found a way to make more, but you don't care anymore. And they ruined it. Like if you told me we're getting more Star Wars, like when I was 20, I'd have been like, hot damn, yes. And now I'm just like, oh, please make it stop.
Yeah. That's just it. I never thought I would get to that point where I'm just completely apathetic about Star Wars. And I just think it's funny that Reddit is admitting it now. This is another one that's from Saltier Than Crate. I'm not sure which one is which, but they said that, yeah, the kids even care about it. Noticed a lot of well-stocked Star Wars toy sections, and that normally shouldn't be the case right after Christmas.
Thank you. We've been saying this.
Yep, the toy aisles for popular items are usually bare. That's true, because usually you start getting like next year's stuff in right after, like the week between Christmas and New Year's. They start getting like the January, February stuff in because everything's been depleted. But that like Star Wars stuff still sits there. Rey has been there for many, many Christmases on the island of misfit toys, aka Ollie's Bargain Outlet. She's been there for a long time.
And no matter how much they lower the price, still there.
She's the dog at the shelter that nobody will adopt.
Oh, no, see, that we have to make it sad.
In the arms of the angel. But she pisses and shits all over the floor. And it's not even her floor, it's Luke's floor.
That's right, because she took it.
She took his house and she just shits all over his house.
That's why no one adopts her, because everything, it's mine. It's mine.
It's mine. She's very aggressive. Mine. A sign that kids aren't really into playing or asking for them. Well, you ran into this. So, I mean, this isn't, to brag or whatever, but Geeky for a number of years donated quite a bit to some of the local toy drives, and nobody was asking for Star Wars.
They don't ask for Star Wars. The biggest things they ask for are usually Barbie, Lego, Hot Wheels, anything like that, Bratz or whatever the new dolls or whatever are.
Yeah.
But you never see Star. I don't think I've ever seen Star Wars, not even once. I've seen a couple Transformers. Mostly it's Marvel, like a lot of Marvel and stuff like that. But
Spider-Man,
no one,
specifically,
Spider-Man, yeah.
Spider-Man
but
and Batman and DC.
I'd say the Lego honestly is the number one I see the most, but they do not want Star Wars.
Yeah. And that's it. Like our kids, Squid King for sure. He liked the idea of Star Wars, I guess is the best way to put it. Like he loved Lego Star Wars. He loved playing Lego Star Wars with me. We used to play it all the time when he was little.
And he knew the story because you played through the game. And
yeah, we played through the game. Story. And he loved the Galactic Heroes, the little action figures. And he played with those because he loved the game. I don't even think he watched the movies until he was way older. I don't even know, to this day, I don't even know if he's watched all the Star Wars movies. I have no idea.
He has, honestly. Our kids are interested in it. Like I said, I was shocked our daughter decided to watch them on her own. She chose it, and then she watched the original trilogy, and then she watched the sequel trilogy, and I said, well, you kind of did it out of, chronological order, and she just basically like, I don't care, those ones came first, and that's what most people say is Star Wars. So she watched them in her own time and as she wanted, and she has thoughts on it. And having seen the first two sequel trilogy movies, she's like, they suck. And now she's like, I really can see it now.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, when you watch them all back to back, it's kind of like, okay, all right, this is kind of a step down, but yeah, I don't know, guys. I just think it's funny. I just think it's very, very funny that finally Reddit's coming around. They've gone to the dark side. They're starting to realize what we've known for years, many of us YouTubers and fans, and you can see it. Even Celebration 2019, we were at Celebration 2019. It was not as busy as I expected it to be.
I didn't go last time because it was in Tokyo. It would have been cool.
No, but the last one we went to, it wasn't that busy comparatively.
Kind of busy, but I don't know what to compare it to because I wasn't to one before that.
Well, I had people show me pictures of the previous, like pre-Last Jedi Celebration and post-Last Jedi Celebration, and there was a stark difference.
Yeah, well, that I believe.
Anyway, we're gonna wrap this up.
Yes.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.
For more pop culture news, views, and rants, go to news.clownfishtv.com. That's news.clownfishtv.com.